Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We have Ron Trozzi on. He is from Arizona, and I'm very excited to talk to him. He's been paralyzed for over 40 years. So, hey, Ron, how are you?
Nice to see you today, Tiffany.
Nice to meet you. Now, are you in Tucson?
That's correct.
I
Uh,
Do you like it there? I've always wanted to go to Tucson.
I moved here in '79 and found a beautiful home, custom built for a wheelchair,
Mm.
and moved in April of 1980. And my house is nestled right east in the mountains, and it is just an awesome place to live.
Oh man. Oh well. Do you ever have any videos of your house on the internet so people can see?
Uh, I had a great one. It was snowing a couple of times, which was a rare occurrence here because usually, we have over 6 months of 100-degree plus weather.
Whoa.
So, yes, I want to point something out. I've been doing a lot of garden posts, and I'm getting some flack from some of the guys about me not wearing any shirt on. I'm always bare chested, and I just come out here and live in the desert, and I, it's so hot here. You don't want to wear anything for so long. So I'm out there, enjoying my flowers and my garden and all that, like nature intended me to do.
Well, I don't know about him. I'm enjoying your shirtless photos on Facebook. I think they're great.
Well, I think most of the people enjoy it. Just some guys like to harass me.
Of course they. Well, I think your life, it looks so fun. I'm from Minnesota, so your photos have just been like therapy for my eyes to see all your garden photos that you've been showing lately. And today is Earth Day, which I think is kind of cool. So it's appropriate that we're going to talk a little bit about your garden too, which is why I
Yeah,
kind of found you. But then I didn't know you've been paralyzed for so long. And I'm like, wow, this guy is super cool. So before we talk about gardening, because we're going to get there, can you share with us just how you were injured and how you ended up the way you did all those years ago?
well, we have to backtrack to 1977.
Okay.
I was in the Coast Guard at the time. That was my dream to be a sailor. I had multiple options. I could have been a chef. I could have been a singer-songwriter,
Okay.
or I could have went into the Coast Guard.
Cool.
My passion mostly was to go to the water, and being a sailor was my goal, my dream. And joining the Coast Guard meant not only being a sailor, but having the opportunity to risk saving people's lives. And
Yeah.
and so I thought, what a great cause to do, and what a great life. And I heard so many good things about the Coast Guard. So I
Mhm.
enlisted in the Coast Guard, and I was on a ship out of North Carolina called
Okay.
the Cholula. And one hot summer day, June 2nd, 1977, I was on the beach in Morehead City, North Carolina. And I was laying out on the beach with a friend, Scott Buckley. And I said, Scott, you want to go in for one last swim? He said, no, you go in, Ron. I'm just going to lay here on the blanket.
Yeah.
Well, the sand was so incredibly hot that day, it was like scalding to my feet. So I was like leaping to get to the water. And that drew my attention off the water. And I dove into the water and hit a sandbar
Oh no.
and crushed my fifth and sixth vertebrae and was completely paralyzed. But I was not knocked unconscious.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, situation like this, if you're not religious, you become religious right away. You know, you
Yeah.
start working
Mhm,
deals with
mhm.
God. Say, God, I just turned 20 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
I'll give up drinking. I'll give up smoking.
Mhm,
Give me a second chance. And
mhm.
so I had an incredible near-death experience that could maybe be another whole show. Um,
Cool.
but I held my breath for as long as I could, which seemed like an eternity,
Hmm.
and actually faced drowning in death and faced going and leaving this world, this life. And then I opened my eyes again and I looked up and this bright object was shining down at me. And I felt the warmth. I didn't realize it was the sun. And my
Oh.
friend Scott looked down over me and his face was white. And I said to him, you saved my life.
Oh.
And I knew right away. So I explained to him, I said, listen, I hit my head. I have a spinal injury. You got to be really careful to handle it carefully. You call the ambulance because we learned in boot camp, it's
Yep.
very important with neck injury. And he's going, calm down. I got it in control. And I right away,
Mhm.
even in this trauma experience, I went right into my Coast Guard training. But
That's great. That's great. Well, sometimes you have to take care of yourself in certain first aid situations.
yeah, well, I was looking after myself because I knew this was serious of this injury because not being able to move anything.
So scary. So it
Yeah,
was 1977. You had hurt yourself while on a beach. Where were you at?
in North Carolina,
In North
Morehead.
Carolina.
Yeah, and so I was I was brought to with an ambulance to one hospital. Too small, had no neurosurgeon. Went
Uh-huh.
to another hospital. Then they explained to me that they need to cut a piece of bone off my hip
Yep.
and surgically fuse it into my spine, put me in traction with 25 pounds of weight on a striker frame, the old-fashioned way.
Oh,
I did that rotisserie chicken number for like a month, and then I was air-vac from Cherry Point Marine Base in a private 727 Air Force plane, two doctors, three nurses. I'm
wow.
like, man, they treated me like the president. Yeah, they flew me to the Bronx VA Hospital, New York,
Oh my
and that's
gosh.
where I did my rehab.
Oh my gosh. That must have been just an era where I think electric wheelchairs had just come out. Hadn't they been available only for a brief amount of time?
Uh, there was definitely electric chairs, and
Yeah.
at first, you have to start sitting up and get
Yeah.
used to sitting up, and then
Yeah.
you slowly get into a push chair, and then finally the day came that they put me in an electric chair with a chain control, and put me out in the parking lot and said, "Go at it. You can't hurt anything but yourself." And I took that thing like a kid to a go-kart.
I know the feeling. The first time I was put in a power chair, I went super fast down the hospital hallway and was yelled at by the therapists.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're a derelict in the hallway.
Well, you sit in that hospital bed for God knows
Oh,
how long. Just that mobility is very good, isn't it? Mhm.
oh, it's empowering. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So you stayed at the Bronx Hospital. I heard back then, you were in rehab for years, right? How long were you in the hospital for?
Almost a year because I had complications because of the way that I actually experienced dying and drowning. It was terrifying. So every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself in the most terrible situations of drowning. Sometimes I'd see myself in a car
Mhm.
and it would be on fire and I couldn't get out. I was trapped. And all
Oh,
that stress caused an ulcer and I was bleeding internally.
oh my gosh.
And I was 186 pounds. I went to about 100 pounds. And, and yeah, and so that complicated so many things, or else my rehab and recovery would have been a lot quicker.
Oh, wow. Did you ever go to any therapy or talk to any like people of faith try to help you with what you were going through?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was funny. A group of people that were Bible studiers. They had a group that would come once a week, and I remember it was like the second week they came, and they were laying their hands on me, and I had a great spasm, and they didn't understand that. They thought I was ready to stand up. They were like, miracle, miracle. I'm like, bastard.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and you probably know I really am a believer in the sense of humor,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
love it.
probably the best healing force in life. And so I'm always trying to laugh at things.
I love it. Mhm.
Humorous.
Well, I agree. I like to do that too. It's so hard sometimes. How do you stay laughing when you have a bad day? Because I know I've been told, Tiffany, you need to relax, stop taking things so seriously. How do you keep things light as a paralyzed person? It can be hard.
Yeah, oh, that's a good thing. I guess for me, I try to look around my environment, and over 40 years living in my home, I've created such a magical atmosphere that it's really difficult to get down. I mean, I look outside my yard and laying here in bed right now, I'm looking out my sliding door of my yard, and I've got incredible flowers growing, and I've got all these landscaping projects and things. And so
Mhm.
um, I'm reminded how blessed I am to be here. And so
Yeah.
also, there's not many people that get to face death and come back in the same lifetime.
No, this is
Yeah,
true. And I think that a lot of people hope that there's life after death. And, when your situation kind of happens and that there is, I hope, yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
you,
Well,
Mhm.
some people have reached out to me for these different spinal cord groups, and it's like,
Mhm.
like a woman a couple days ago that's been injured a year and a half. she just like can't find a purpose in her life. And he goes, how do you have direction? How do you have purpose? And it's like, how do you instill this in other people that, for me, it was something that, how could I not have this credible attitude? We're getting so close to losing my life at the age of 20. And then all of a sudden, snap, I'm back here on this planet. I mean, how can I not have a really good attitude? It's like, I mean, how many people get this opportunity to do it in a lifetime?
This
And
is true.
so, I'm a spiritual guy, and I believe that this whole thing was happening for a reason. And so, having that philosophy and living by it, every day I take the opportunity to try to touch people, instill in them, that, hey, I'm doing this stuff and I'm in a chair. So, stop making excuses, get your butt off and, do something with your life.
I love it. So you probably were inspiring to some of your fellow patients even back in the day when you were in the hospital, I bet, because you probably thought, I'm guessing you've always had this personality, huh?
Yeah, I've always been a natural ham too, and being a guitar player and singer and being on stage, I always thought that
Oh,
was, the highest high, like to be up there, and then I realized one day when I was doing a motivational talk to a group of, I think it was 11th or 12th graders, and
mhm.
afterwards I noticed this one girl waiting and waiting to talk to me last, and finally I had the opportunity, and she said, I'm so happy I met you today. She said, I was seriously thinking about taking my life this morning. And she
Wow.
said, after meeting you, I could never think about doing that again. And she gave me a big hug and kiss. And she said,
Wow.
you saved my life. You saved me.
That's
And
amazing.
I was blown away.
Love it.
And I knew right then and there that there was a higher high than playing guitar on stage.
There truly is. But I bet you were a great guitarist.
Um, no, but I had a pretty good voice,
I can tell from your voice. I like your accent. Are you from the East Coast originally?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Long Island. I'm a
Okay.
New Yorker.
Okay. I
Yeah.
figured, I'm like, you don't sound like you're Arizonan.
No, in fact, everywhere I go, people go, you talk funny. I go, no, you hear funny.
Uh, Okay, so how did you end up in Arizona? Did you have family out there, or you're like, that's where I belong as a paralyzed guy? Because I know a
Well,
lot of quads move there.
this is this is another whole story because
Hmm.
this is what my first chapter of my book about
Okay.
is, and it's about the calling that God sent me to Tucson, Arizona. I didn't know anyone out here. I've never seen this place. I traveled 2,000 miles on trust that this was the place I was to go to.
Crazy.
And the way I got that message is another story. I'm sorry, but it would take too much time from
That's
us to.
okay. I bet it's a cool one though.
Oh yeah, it's the name of my book. So
Oh. So you got this message to go to Tucson, and you'd go there. Now, since you're a high level quad and you can't move your arms too well, did you bring a team of people with you, or a one caregiver, or how do you do that?
I convinced my parents who thought I was totally nuts, including all my friends my family, that I'm going to move 2,000 miles away from my home to start a new life. Well,
Yeah.
kind of it was a big adventure because in Tucson, there was no one to compare an old Ron to. Where
Yeah.
I lived, everybody
Yeah.
felt sorry for me,
Yes.
but in Tucson, they
Yeah.
only knew me as Ron, the guy in the chair.
Yes. I like that. That's a great point.
Yeah, and so here was really a fresh start for me. In Tucson was growing up. It was the weather here is incredible,
Yes.
but
Right.
it's really hot in the summer.
Okay.
I mean, it's like 100 plus for 5 months.
So you only go outside when the sun goes down, really?
Well, no, I
Mhm.
go out in the heat. You get conditioned to it. I don't
Okay.
enjoy it, but I go out there. I'm
Okay.
still out there in the sun for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I get
Mhm.
blasted. I feel like a piece of bacon sizzling out there sometimes.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I love that you ended up, what a brave thing to do though. I don't think I could do that. So you got your family to go with you to
yeah,
Tucson
my
and you,
parents, yeah, they helped me move out there, and
wow,
they
wow.
helped me get situated. And then uh, I got enrolled in school.
Okay.
I went back to the VA to get. I'm a veteran, so
That's great.
I got enrolled in the therapy there, and I was renting a house that we temporarily made accessible, and was going to college. And my parents went back to New York, and I started getting a couple of caregivers, and started my whole independent life again.
you're pretty brave. Did you have any people your age doing what you were doing as inspiration, or did you just do it on your own? No.
Not, I didn't know anybody in the chair. I was like,
No.
in my hometown, it was like nobody.
Oh,
So,
really weird. That must have been a hard, lonely time. Like a little bit lonely.
no, I have really good family, and I had some really close friends that, you know, I commend all my friends that stayed close to me and got me on the chair
Okay.
because they really knew it was just me. I hadn't changed at all, only physically, but my heart and my mind and my soul was still on.
Yeah.
And, my sense of humor and joking around. And I think, if anything, my accident, my disability has been my best teacher in life.
I love that. Yeah, you're great. I wish I could come see your garden because, okay, let's talk a little bit about your property and how you made it accessible. I think it's so cool. Did you make the house accessible from like ground up, or did you buy the house and then make it accessible?
No, this house was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was custom built for a veteran.
Ooh,
They what they call the 702 grant.
okay.
That means it meets all the requirements for VA, the specifications for accessibility. So
Cool.
like all the doors are 36 inches. The house is built on one level. My
Nice.
my hallways are 4.5 feet wide. It's
Beautiful. Mhm.
got about a little over acre of property.
Okay,
But
nice.
when I moved here, I still had limitations, and slowly
Yeah.
over time, I sort of claimed my property as mine
Okay.
temporarily because it's not really mine. But
Mhm.
I put in wheelchair path all around my whole acre, going around trees. It's like an incredible park. And,
Wow.
and I got into the soil here is very rich.
Okay.
I live close to the mountains and the
Mhm.
washes, and it dawned on me one day. I said, "I bet you can really grow things here." And I often joke about people. They say, "Well, how fertile is the soil there?" I go, "Well, take off your sock and stick your bare foot in the dirt. Wait about a half hour. When you take your foot out, you have to cut your toenails. That's how fertile the soil."
Really? Wow.
So I slowly started growing things and expanding and expanding.
Cool.
And so
What do you grow? Do you do a lot of like Arizona plants?
no, actually, the summer crops I grew many tomatoes.
Mhm.
Um, Tomato and basil was my big seller.
Mhm.
And so I supplied the local co-op, some health food
Cool.
stores, and
Really?
one restaurant, that my favorite restaurant. And he really, every Thursday when I made a delivery, he would make a special with Ron's tomatoes. And my tomato and my purple basil, and usually that dish sold out within before the end of the night. So
Wow. This is great. You must have a green thumb. Now, do you put your stuff in planters or is it in the ground?
actually, I designed all the beds that are. I don't have the use of my hands, so I'm
Mhm.
basically I'm the designer and
Mhm.
creator of everything,
Yep.
and then through other people's hands, I bring things into reality.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I have taught all my caregivers how to use tools,
So cool.
plumbing. And then I used to hire the local kids around here, my neighborhood kids, and I taught them how to do all this stuff. But I had to close the business because one, kids didn't want to work anymore. They were too busy with their cell phones and computers.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with these insect called the grubs, which will actually eat your roots. And I was totally an organic grower.
Oh,
So I couldn't use any kind of chemicals on my dirt.
cool.
So after 10 years of a successful small business, I surrendered. I kind of lost my passion
Oh.
until about 8 months ago.
Yeah.
A dear friend of mine, Karma, who had seen my operation
Uh-huh.
and firsthand here in Tucson, uh, she used to be married to a caregiver of mine, and she belongs to the Tucson Garden Club, even
Okay.
though she lives in Illinois. So she
Cool.
invited me to join the club.
Nice.
And all of a sudden, I find out that people really love my stories and my postings in this group. And so I guess they reawakened my passion for gardening.
I love that. I love your photos. When I saw, I was like, wow, this guy is up to something cool down there. You can just tell, like, you love it. You're surrounded by your plants, like Santa Claus with all this, like, his elves around him.
Yeah, right. Well, they're all my friends. People think I'm a little nuts, but that's all right.
I do not. I'm very jealous. I have an indoor herb garden, and that is it. I live in an indoor, I live in a condo. I have no outdoor space. So I am so jealous of your acre and everything you've been doing all these years. I mean, how therapeutic is it? Let's talk a little bit just about the mental health aspect of
Yeah,
just going out there in the garden. I mean, do you feel like that it really helps you being able to do that and being out there?
yeah. Well, because our feet never touch the ground,
Mhm.
I touch the ground and the soil through my love and passion for my flowers and my garden.
Yeah.
And so I connect with them that way. And, I have dialogue with them just like I would my friends.
Yeah.
And,
Talk to your plants.
oh, well, I have more than talk to them. I
Sing.
bathe them in compliments and, you know, I always treat them, with passion, like as a lover,
Yeah.
they give me unconditional love all the time. They always have a smile for me. So,
I think it's great. Now, do you like to grow mostly edible, like types of plants, or do you ever do flowers, just beautiful kind of garden, kind of just to
well,
enjoy?
it's really difficult to grow things here in the summertime.
Okay.
So, and we're going through a drought right now, and
Oh,
the weather here has really changed. So, I
yeah.
used to collect all my rainwater, which was way back when it wasn't even a popular thing to do. Now it's like the end thing to do is,
Everyone's doing it. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's like, well, I was doing that a long time,
Cool.
and so, but now you don't get the rain, so you really have to use a lot of water. And I have a pool that I converted to a pond.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
well, I'm a sailor,
Yeah.
and so I miss the water so much. So I sort of been changing my whole yard into a seaside backyard.
No way.
Oh yeah, you should see. I will share things as I'm almost finished with several projects, but the first project was a memorial to my father,
Okay.
and it's an old bait station. It's like a Hollywood set, and it's really great. A lot of people love it.
Okay, so you turned your chlorine pool into a natural pond, and now you're turning it back into kind of like a beach vibe.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
it has nets and bamboo
Ooh,
and
cool.
all sorts of things. There's shells and river rock, and it looks.
Wow.
I have a.
Mhm.
I'm surrounded by like the different uh, types of gardens. Like, there's more of the beach environment, and there's more of a garden environment, and
Yeah.
there's really desert environment where it's just cactus growing.
Right. I know a lady who lives in Arizona and she has a dirt yard, just dirt everywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate. I live in a beautiful area, like I said, way east of Tanque Verde. So there's a
Okay.
lot of trees here, a lot of greenery.
Nice.
In fact, one of my stories I posted, The Mighty Mesquite, and it shows you a tree that someone told me it's about 200 years old.
Oh, cool.
And so I sit under that sometimes, and I feel the energy and strength of that tree.
Oh, nice. Ah, that sounds so cool. Gosh, now, do you have any animals and pets that are down there on your property?
No, I do not.
Hmm.
I don't. I have so much responsibility. I have 7 caregivers, and then
Okay.
I have a huge home with a
Wow.
lot
Yeah.
of property. And then, so
Mhm.
I don't want to have a pet because if I can't be responsible for it, that means I have to find someone to be responsible
Right? Your
for it.
caregivers have to
And,
do it all. I know.
and if my caregiver doesn't come in, who walks my pet? Who feeds my pet?
It's
And
true.
so that's
Mhm.
unfair to that pet.
Yeah.
So, I have birds and I have critters
Okay.
and
Okay.
things all around the backyard here. And
A little menagerie of like birds flying around.
yeah, I have, and I have this incredible, like I said, I live out in the mountains, so it's not common to see all, snakes and wild pigs and,
Ooh,
bobcats and coyotes and
that's so cool.
yeah,
Gosh, what a lifestyle you've been living. I live in a state where I'm inside 6 months out of the year because it's freezing.
Oh yeah, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but with your hot weather, you're inside, but you don't have to stay inside all the time, it sounds like.
No, well, what happens is people live their lives once the sun goes down.
That's kind of
You
what I
know,
was
and
thinking.
then
Yeah.
it's still, don't get me wrong, it's still 90 something degrees, but it's the intense sun here in the summer
Cool.
that really, I mean, you could fry an egg on the street,
Well,
literally.
I've
Yeah.
seen it done on TV. Now, do you ever worry as a quad about the air conditioning like breaking down when it's super hot in a state like that? I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Yeah.
what
In
do you
fact,
do?
well, because I spent a lot more time the last 3 years of my life because I some health issues, I'm spending more time in bed than I'd like to.
Yeah,
I thought about that, and so my mom, before she passed away, helped me buy a generator,
good
and so the
idea.
power cuts out. I have a backup source, and
That's so smart.
it's really helped several times.
I
Yeah.
bet it has. I always worry about my AC breaking down if when it gets hot out and I'd be stuck in a third floor apartment with no elevator. I don't even know what I would do. So it's good to
You
have
got
a
to stay.
generator.
You have to stay wet. I would go in the shower
Yeah, stay
and
wet.
just stay wet. Yeah,
Yep, yep. That's a
that's how
good
you
tip.
survive. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, gosh, I don't know what else I want to talk to you about. I know. So where can people find your information? Are you still doing motivational speaking at all, Ron? Or are you kind of
Well, you
stepping
know
away?
what? It's all the schools and everything have kind of closed down,
I
so
know.
I
Yeah.
kind of shut the door to people doing motivational talks, and so it was simultaneously. In fact, the whole thing about the stay home and the quarantine, I
Yeah.
was practicing that a year before it happened, so it really didn't affect me that much. It wasn't until I got the virus
Oh, you got
that's
it.
when yeah, one of my caregivers gave it to me,
How did you
and
do? Was it bad?
it wasn't bad. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, take your time.
Yeah,
I was just wondering. I know some quads that have had it. Yeah.
yeah, I got it, and take the phone out of your room. Sorry
Hmm.
about that. So
That's okay. It's all
I
good.
got it. I got it, and I'm a veteran,
Hmm.
100% service connected veteran. So I have a thing called the homebound care,
Yeah.
and they were worried about me staying,
Oh, okay.
and I said I'm not going into the hospital.
No.
You know, there's no way I'm going into the hospital. I'm going to stay here at my home. It's where I belong.
Yep.
And I said, it was my last day. I want to be here.
Hmm.
I tell people, at the hospital, I'm a patient. At my home, I'm Ron. And,
Absolutely.
and so I chose to stay here. They're like, oh, we don't want you. Well, I said, give me the medicine. They set me up with an oxygen machine that I needed. And
That's great.
I I had a fever for a couple of days. Other than that, I did fine. I'm sort of a natural nut, and so I eat very healthy. I have a very
Okay.
good diet,
I
and
was going to ask you about that. You've been alive for so long as a quad. What are your healthy living tips? Eat
oh
healthy.
God,
All
that's another. You're gonna have to have me back. You might want to start have me on
right.
a regular
I'll have you
basis.
back. I just was gonna say, I know that you probably have a lot of tips to share in that regard, but you're not like a vegan, right?
No, I tried that for a few years,
Hmm.
and I can't survive being a
Okay.
vegan.
Okay. Very
No,
cool.
yeah.
You look pretty healthy though, and from your photos when you're up in your chair too, you look like you're doing pretty good. So I hope that whatever you're dealing with goes away soon, so you can be up in your chair again more often.
Yeah, I would love that. It's
Mhm.
I went from such an active lifestyle for 40 years. I mean, I
Yeah.
was really involved with the independent living center here in Tucson.
Yeah.
I was president of the board and then chairman of the fundraising committee, and then all of a sudden I got a lung infection,
Oh,
and it was my
okay.
first one. And that's like the
Scary.
weakness for a quad.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
lungs. It's like I tell people that's our kryptonite.
it
It's a
is.
lung infection. I don't have all my quad friends. I don't have any of them. They all died
They all
like 10 years
died.
ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I lost them like 10 years ago. I lost the last one. All to pneumonia, lung infections.
I know.
You
I
know,
can't tell you. I've lost several too over the years. I've been paralyzed for 27 years, and I've lost 3 or 4 quad friends too. It's
yeah,
very sad. It's
yeah. And
really sad.
so,
Mhm.
a tip is to try to keep your lungs, healthy and clear,
Yep. Yep.
and yeah, because that's your vulnerable area.
No smoking and lung exercises. The breathing machine, the aspirometer thing. Do you ever
Y-
use that
y-
thing with the tube and you breathe it in and out?
Oh
Help.
yeah, I sleep with a BiPAP mask, so
Oh, okay.
and they actually recommend that if you get the virus,
Really?
and because it gives you air through your lungs all night, and so I was using one anyway, so maybe that was to my advantage. I don't know.
Maybe it
Yeah.
is. Well, I do think I'm going to say before I let you go here, I think your positive and funny attitude, I think definitely helps keep you healthy and keep you alive all these years too. So
Yeah, and my spiritual beliefs. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, it
yeah.
is. So this has been great. I definitely we're going to have you back on, Ron. You're super great. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you and ask you about gardening or anything else, where can they find you?
Well, that's a good question. I set up a blog
Yeah.
called throwsnose.com, but it really wasn't very successful. I found out, as we know, humans are basically lazy. And so if I don't go to them, they will come to me. So I just keep posting. And so I guess they can look out for me.
On
And
Facebook.
on Facebook,
Mhm.
I belong to 3 spinal cord groups,
Yep.
and post I posted it quite often now because they've opened up the door with all this garden. They're very strict. They only wanted spinal cord information things, and I
Hmm.
think they see the benefits to people with disability and they connect to the gardening.
No, it's
And
great.
so and I've really connected with a lot of the members. So
I love it. No, I've know like a lot of people who are quadriplegic have gardens indoors, whether in Chicago or they're in Portland and it's outside. And so many quads love gardening. So it's very, very important to the community. And I think we should talk about it more. So,
yeah,
anyways,
it gives us a sense of connection.
it does. And even
Yeah,
though our feet are on the ground, we can connect to the plants.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I will be talking to you again. We'll have you on the show for sure soon. So have a great day, Ron, and stay healthy.
I will the same to you and all your members.
All right. Thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye. Bye now.
Bye. See ya.
Take care.